Have you ever spent 3 months with 3 shadows? Well, we're fixing to talk about what happens when you do.
You speak, we listen. Conversations connecting people. This is the Chuck Williams Show.
Welcome back to another edition of the Chuck Williams Show. This is our record for guests. We have 3 guests with us today, and all 3 of these kids are students. They're not kids, they're young adults, but I'm 61, they're kids. Okay, they've all been students at they're all students at Columbus State, and they have taken a practicum course. We've got Dr. Dana Gibson, who's the dean of CSU, in here sort of watching this, but their course credit, they get 1 hour for shadowing me this semester. I'm joined here by Jada Washington. Jada, welcome.
Thank you.
Jada is from Covington, Georgia, a junior, right?
Yes.
And she has been a delight. We're also joined by Brian Thompson. Brian's another junior from Conyers. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome.
And then we're also joined by Jasmine Edmond. Jasmine is a junior as well. She is the homegirl, Shaw High School, right?
Yes. Thank you, Chuck. I'm excited to be here.
It's great to have you. Let's talk. First of all, let's talk about what happened here. This is something that CSU experimented with. We've got a bureau on the CSU campus. And the experiment was y'all get to spend the semester shadowing a journalist me. What did you hope to get out of this, Brian, when this started? Why did you take this course? I wouldn't have taken this course, I don't think.
Well, it came out of nowhere. I was kind of shocked when I got the email from Dr. Gibson for the practicum. So I was like, well, let me sign up. And the main reason why is because I am a storyteller. I believe myself as a storyteller. I look at everything as a story connected in life. And so when I found out we were shadowing you, I was like, let me do my little research and go on Indeed and let me see. And when I seen you have worked in journalism and for 10 plus years, and then I believe
try 40, brother.
Yeah. But more really for a long time, and just the reputable stories of people claim of your journalism, I was like, okay, this be cool. And the main reason was because I want to be a producer in film and broadcast. And so the best way to do that is follow someone with a journalist with your caliber would be great.
Well, you and I, you wouldn't look at us and say, hey, these 2 guys are a lot alike, but we are. We are both pure storytellers. That was the one thing I noticed that you gravitated, and you just hit on it. You were more interested in how I told the story and what the story was in a way that maybe it was like, okay, he's looking at the story. And I thought that was kind of cool all the way through. For you, Jada, why did you take this course?
So I've always been interested in film and media, but I recently in high school, I did an experience where I got to shadow. We went to CNN, we went to Cartoon Network, we did all of that, and that's when I fell in love.
I hope I was closer to CNN than Cartoon Network.
No, you were. But I was just saying we visited a lot of different industries, and we got to see a lot of different aspects of the media industry, and it was there when I fell in love with an industry, and I decided that I actually wanted to be a news anchor. And so when I found out that you were, I was like, oh, this would be perfect. I got to see the behind the scenes. I get to see, my favorite moments was just watching you work in the studio. So that's why I personally took it, because I was like, you're in the career path that I wanted to follow, and I kind of wanted to see your journey.
And that's been obvious. You've seen more studio work probably than anybody, because your hours were a little later on the day. So you saw more of the end of it. They saw, Brian and Jasmine saw the gathering process. You saw what kind of went on the air.
Yeah, I saw the execution a lot.
And that was kind of cool. That was a cool experience. Why did you do it, Jasmine?
Well, like I kind of shared with you when I did the interview, this started for me at a very early age. I remember watching the news with my grandmother in the mornings, and that's when I really fell in love with it. I've always been a writer, love to write, love to journal. So I've been in love with this since I was a little girl. I knew this is what I wanted to do. So when I saw the opportunity come across, I was like, yes, I know Mr. Chuck. I see him on TV, Of course.
And that made so much sense. I buried the lead here. Folks, if you're listening to this, you're also listening to their final exam. This is their final exam. So no pressure, guys. But you got Dr. Gibson over here grading you. So, I mean, for the record, I'm going to go ahead and put on the record. I would give 3 A's. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, you're the professor. You can do what you want. But the recommendation on the record is 3 A's. They have all been great. But also, they didn't just sign up. They went through an interview process with myself and Connor Hackling, our news director. There were, I think, 8, 9 that interviewed, and we came down to 3 folks. And, so y'all had to do a competitive situation to get into it. And that simulated it wasn't a job interview, but it was. I mean, it was a simulation of that. So as you move through this, have you picked up things out of this that have been helpful to you as you start looking, and getting closer to, as my daughter says, adulting? Go ahead. Go ahead, Jada. You start. Yeah.
Me? Oh, no. I would say yes. One, adulting in the specific area of like this field, I would say I learned a lot. When I would watch the news at home, with my dad, I never knew like behind the scenes, like the execution until I got here. Like I didn't realize that as journalists, as news anchors, you guys like write a lot of your own scripts. You do a lot of the own investigating. I
do all my own
you
reporting.
do all of it. Yes, I watched
with
all
help
of that
from
happen.
some of my colleagues, but yeah.
And I watched that happen, and I would say that's one thing that I learned. I also learned just like the floor aspect of like when you guys are just like working, because I'm there mostly back there, watching
newsroom.
work. Yeah, in the newsroom, and just seeing like, even though you're all working on your own stories, just seeing like the collaboration of all of y'all just talking and helping build each other's own stories was just like amazing. So I'd say I definitely learned that too.
What did you think, Brian, about the fact that more people in that newsroom are way closer to your age than they are mine?
For starters, it was a bit like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting like older people. So when I seen like coworkers of that was near my age, like straight out of college,
First job.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is more tangible, and it's a great way, because my end result is I want to start off going to CNN in Atlanta, but I want to work at a local station prior and just having that experience. So seeing younger people that's my age, I was like, this is way more tangible and possible.
So you got to see we're hiring people like you.
Yes.
Did that help you, was that helpful to you?
It was. I met a few, I don't know about your names, but I know like
Michaela, I think you met Michaela.
Yeah, Michaela. I met Mallory. I met a few and just hearing them saying like, you got this. This is really a cool opportunity to really jump on. So for me, it was more of a confirmation when I seen my peers that's in my age group here. I'm like, I can do that right after college, or even start from an internship and work my way into the company. So that's the plan. And
that's one of the visions that Gene Kirkconnell before him and Dr. Gibson had, is the internship is the next step. And the internship is a full semester credit. You have to do it to graduate. We take full advantage of it, and we use a lot of interns from CSU, Auburn, UGA. So, you got to see that, and you think you will apply for one of the internships?
Yes.
And now we know you know us. It makes that process a lot easier. From your perspective, Jasmine, you're a little older. You graduated from Shaw what year?
2011.
So you are. I'm gonna get in trouble when I use this term, but you're a more mature student. You're a student who is coming back. You have been in the world, and you're now making decisions. Okay, this is what I need this degree to go in this direction.
Yeah.
Using that life experience, what did you get out of this?
Well, I would say, with me not being a traditional college student, I was also excited to also see, people my age here as well. it made me, because at first, you start with a little self-doubt. When you're out of school for a little while, you've taken a break, life has happened. There's a lot of self-doubt, when you're going back to school and trying to get it all together.
Going back to school is a commitment more than a decision
Absolutely.
for somebody in your situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I would say that I learned a lot from this entire experience. It made me excited. It has me motivated. I'm excited for a possible internship. It got some fire under me, Chuck, I must say.
That right there, what y'all have just said all the way across the board, but finishing with Jasmine, is one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, because, I've only got 4 or 5 more years, maybe a little longer, but it depends. But, the sun's setting. Sun's rising in the east, it's setting in the west. And, I want people to see how I do it and take the good and the bad from it. I mean, you can learn both ways. One of the things that we went through with all 3 of y'all got to see court in a way that very few college students do. You were in superior court. You were in recorder's court. Well, okay, we'll start. You were in recorder's court, the first step after you get arrested. You were in superior court, which is where the state prosecutes you. Y'all even got to see the DA prosecuted, unbelievably. And then you were in federal court, which is the highest of high bars when it comes to our legal system. I'll start with you because you took so many notes. Brian, you took more notes than any human being I've ever seen. But I want to see what's in that little purple thing. But you were the note-taking guy. What was your take on the court system?
All 3 of them was very similar but very different. I would say the lower level court, like
the first appearance court, recorder's court.
That was more. There was all tension, but that was like the lightest of them. Federal court, it was very much like don't even blink, don't even look, just sit there. And so
please don't let my phone go off.
Right. So, what I usually do, I write down what I see. I know many times, like when I'm with court with Jasmine, like that's the first thing. She sees my handwriting, and I'm writing down what I see observation-wise. And all 3 of them across the board has been silent killers. But what taught me in that environment is
silent killers.
Well, like silent killers in terms of like it's silent, but like anyone can be killed in court in terms of metaphorical terms. But in terms of like
it's in some cases it's those courts can take away your freedom,
right,
your money, and your kids.
Yeah,
there are very few places. And they can take away your life in extreme circumstances.
Yeah, they're very intimidating. But it had taught me to be attentive, very attentive when before court starts or prior when judge comes in, just really be attentive and stay on the edge of your seat because you don't know where you're going to miss. There's been times where I write notes and, maybe you have missed something and we just trade notes or trade notes with Jasmine. So
there were times in federal court, because federal court, you can have no recording devices at all. So I don't have a camera. I don't even have an audio player going. And there were times we were covering the Willie Demps public corruption trial. Mr. Demps is accused of stealing $500,000 from the Superior Court coffers, public money he is alleged to have stolen from you and I. You got to see that, and there were 7 co-defendants with him. We got to see that. But there were times that I would look at you either when we got back here or in the courtroom and say, okay, I missed that amount. How much was it? And you were kind of a second, all of y'all, but you specifically, because I knew you were taking down everything. It was like you were a second set of ears and eyes for me. And that was a plus I didn't see coming out of this. Let's go to you, Jada. You seem the least comfortable in the court situations to me. You just kind of seem, edgy is not the right word, but you were like, whoa, what am I walking into? Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know. I only was able to go to court once.
Okay, you were in the Mark Jones stuff.
Yeah,
though,
I was
right?
in the Mark Jones.
And it was just you and I that afternoon, if I remember correctly.
I will say that In a sense, I would say that it's a fair assessment. I did walk in and I was like, well, what did I get into? Because I immediately went in. It was halfway through the trial. It was like, all right, turn off your phone. Don't make any noise. Don't let anyone know that you're here. Just sit there and like be still. But watching the whole experience, like I hate to relate it to TV, but I was like, this is nothing like TV. So
that is an absolutely accurate statement, and people don't realize it.
Mhm.
Court, real life court, is not like TV court in any way. And we were covering the first Mark Jones trial. There have been two in y'all's one semester. He is now out of office and in state prison, but the one we covered, he was acquitted on. And because of COVID, there was limited space in the courtroom. The judge allowed me to bring y'all in. I mean, I went and cleared it with the judge. He said, okay, I'm going to have 3 CSU kids. They'll come in various stages. And, you know, and this was Judge Cochran. He was the judge out of Macon. And I said, they're getting class credit. They're shadowing me. He said, okay, bring them in. Just tell them to be quiet. You're responsible for them. And, you know, in every court we went in, I was the one. If y'all had done something crazy, I was the one that was going to get in trouble. And I'm here to report. This is why they're getting A's in my book. They never got me in trouble. And that's what we're looking. You talk a little bit about the court from your perspective.
Well, to piggyback off of what they said, it was very intense, excuse me, and very serious. I did not expect court to be like that. I've never sat in on any type of cases, or I've never experienced that. So all we have is what we see on TV. So yeah, it was very, very serious, intense. Like Brian said, almost like a silent killer, because we were witnessing people, you know, being, you know, possibly sentenced to this, you know, spending their life in prison, possibly, you know, especially with the Willie Demps case. He's looking at a lot of, you know, time possibly. So just seeing that, you know, firsthand, it was very intense.
The Demps case is not over. Will you follow it?
I will, because I want to see that through. I want to, yeah.
You've got an investment in
yeah,
it right
I
now.
do.
And
I do.
What about you, Brian? Will you follow?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been times me and Jasmine have
Yeah.
like took lunch and like really look into it, and I think like the porches, like we didn't even see how really in depth.
Curtis and Doreen
Yes.
Porch were two
Yeah.
co-defendants that were in the case.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't see like how deep in trouble they was, because they're like they have done like other things that was even more like whoa.
They are also accused of PPE theft.
Yeah.
So they had double things running,
Pretty
and
much.
and they both pled guilty last week. They she pled to both. He pled to just the Demp stuff. He has not pled to the PPE stuff yet. So he's still accused of that. He has not pled to that. Brian, you got to see something the other two didn't get to see, and you got to see it very early on. There's a lawyer in town. I'm not going to say his name, but there was a lawyer in town who was outside the courtroom, and we were talking about a court case, and you know, and the privileges that I went off the record with, and that extended to you. You could not use that. I mean, I said, okay, I'm off the record. You know, we can't use what we're doing, but he's giving me background that's going to help me cover it. What did you think when you saw me and that attorney talking for 20, 25 minutes, and you saw how he opened up, and I mean, you saw how I get information?
Well, for starters, it showed how valuable networking is in this particular field. And secondly, I believe that was on the donut case.
It was.
Yeah. Seeing that conversation, just witness it, because I didn't even write nothing down or anything. Like, it was definitely off the record. But seeing that information, it was very much give or take. I give you a little bit of this, I give you a little bit of this, and it was a fair trade. So it wasn't less of,
because I had some information he didn't have.
Exactly. And in that moment, I realized, okay, this is how the game works. You gotta give a little to get a little bit, and it's accuracy. It's very much being transparent with information to know what you're trading.
Do you know why I was having that conversation with him? Do you know what the purpose for me of that conversation was?
Well,
Yeah, tell me. I mean, there's no right or wrong answers. You already got an A in my book.
When in that moment, I just thought simply for the story and to get certain details out, because I think at that time, it was a bit chaotic what happened with the donut.
The donut case was the Civic Center campaign video
Yes.
Mark Jones did. That they ended up dropping the charges. They didn't convict him. They got him on other stuff that had to do with the office. But what I was trying to do there, and just is the most important thing, and I hope y'all have gotten this out of this, is to get it right. Accuracy trumps everything else. If it's not accurate, and it could be one fact that you've screwed up, then that can cascade and lead people to cause doubt on other facts that are right. So, that's why I have those conversations with folks. So you got to see a good one. That was a give and take, and it's a lawyer I respect greatly. I mean, and you could, I hope, could you sense that he trusted or didn't trust me in that conversation?
I definitely sense he trusts you, but I do know he, it's all about keep the distance with, while muddying the boundaries. But he, definitely sensed the trust.
But he knew that I wasn't going to go back and use that, and that's part of this that I think y'all have gotten to see a little bit. From your perspective, let's go over here. Let's go to Jasmine. From your perspective, what's something you've seen in the shadow that you didn't expect to see, or something that jumped out at you?
Something that I would say I didn't expect. Let me think about this question, because there was a few things I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, lay it out. I mean, I'll stop you if you start to go over the line.
I got you. The amount of patience you have to have. Let's start there.
Not my best virtue.
But just sitting in on the elections while we waited on the vote count, things like that. You have to have a lot of patience in this field. Also, speaking on accuracy, yes, you have to be accurate, but also fair. You have to have, a fair perspective on things, because you may not agree with someone you're interviewing with or talking to.
And y'all seen that.
Yeah.
I mean, because y'all have heard some of my inner thoughts as I've walked away from things, as I've been processing them. I'm a human like y'all. I got my opinions. I got my thoughts, and you've gotten to see those kind of in action. I mean, grade me. Do you think I've been fair?
I do. I do.
Why you say that?
I think you do a great job of that, because you're able to sit and hold a conversation with someone, like I said, that you may not have the same viewpoints or beliefs, and you're able to do that and be fair to that person. You allow them, to voice their opinion, their viewpoint without, attacking them. Or you're just a very well-balanced, fair person from every experience I've witnessed.
And, that comes into play because we are in the height. Political season is starting to ramp up, and I'll be interviewing candidates. Who saw me interview Belle Isle?
We did, yeah.
Okay, y'all saw me interview Mr. Belle Isle, state senator or state representative,
Yes.
former mayor of one of the North Fulton cities.
Yes.
And he is running for Secretary of State. He's a Trumper. He is a staunch supporter of President Trump. And he thinks that the Georgia election was fraudulent. That means did I sum it up fairly?
Yes.
It was a really interesting interview, though. I mean, I challenged him at times with questions, but I mean, I let him say what he wanted to say. Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I was referring to.
And what about you, Jada? What have you kind of seen from his perspective that has been a little different?
I don't know if it's been a little different, but I've definitely seen how thorough it is, which you should expect going to journalism because, like you said, accuracy is very important. But just watching you work at the desk, I would see how you would type up a script, but then you'd stop and you'd call someone like, is this what happened? Can you confirm the number? Like with the elevator situation, was like, how many people were in there? Or
a jury got stuck on an elevator
Yes.
in the government center, and right after they had been selected, and we were making sure we had the information accurate.
yes.
Ended up being 12 of the 14 that got stuck.
Wow.
They finished the case on the first floor. They did not put them back in the, and that was happening the same exact day as the sales tax vote to build a new government center. I mean, you would almost think they did it on purpose. I know they didn't. But it was like, are you kidding me? Today of all days? So, did any of y'all jump in, whoever wants to jump in here, guys, did y'all learn at all how quickly you think you got a plan and then the plan changes?
Yes.
The story changes?
Yes.
Was that, because in your academic world, you've got your class schedule, you've got your stuff, and you pretty much roll with it. My day can change on a dime. I hope y'all have seen that.
Yes.
Definitely.
Anything about it that stuck out, or is?
I would say it gives a taste of what journalism can be, and I can admit, at least I don't know about the others too, but waking up on Tuesday or Thursday with anxiety, like, okay, what we're doing today is a bit like, oh, but I grew to love it probably like after the first week or two, and like got the hang of it, like, okay, this I know, and it's not like it's too wild, and it's not like not scheduled. It's like a beautiful chaos. It's scheduled, but things can change.
Well, we had a group text. The three of us had a group text, and like a couple of times it changed from the night before to the morning, particularly on some of the court stuff, and I would just text, wear court clothes. It was like, don't wear shorts. That was sort of my don't wear shorts, wear court clothes, because you need to be dressed appropriately. Depending if you're going in federal court or in the superior court, you better present yourself in a manner that doesn't draw attention to you. You want to present yourself in a professional manner. And y'all did get several texts, wear court clothes today, and they did. All three of y'all did. Let's talk a little bit about Columbus State and Columbus. I want to switch this a little bit. We got about 15, 20 more minutes. I want to switch this up and talk about Columbus. Jasmine, you're from here. You live here. This is your town. Y'all are transplants. Y'all came in out of the metro area. I'm going to ask all three of y'all the same question. It's going to be unfair because I'm going to start with her. Start with Jasmine. You meet somebody that is not from around here. Describe Columbus, Georgia.
To describe my city, I call it my city because I am from here. I was born and raised here. I love Columbus.
Give me 5. I like that. That's what I like to hear.
To describe it, am I describing it in one word or how?
No, just describe it. Don't take the rest of the podcast, but describe it.
I would have to say Columbus, I call it a melting pot because you got to think we have people from all over because of Fort Benning. But I feel like it's a perfect example of Southern, what do they say we have? Southern charm. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. I think we are a perfect example of Southern charm. We welcome everyone in. We treat everyone good, or at least we try to here in Columbus. I feel like we come together when we need to. I don't know.
It's family for you,
It's
too.
family for me, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brian, you came in out of Conyers. Describe Columbus.
Well, I first came to Columbus through ThesCon, just being like theater. So
many of y'all ThesCon kids came.
So I'd be downtown. So that was the first thing that I liked Columbus. Now, when I first officially moved to Columbus and for school, I believe that everyone's experience would be different because it's a town. But for me, I met various people. So I got diversity the first thing when I came here. And I worked even on Bid Mill, which is like a little event center just downtown, and I met just different types of people. So usually, I met people that are very naturally caring, and that's just from my experience, just naturally caring, and that would go that has a kind heart. I don't know how to quite
So, do
describe
you
it.
like Columbus?
My experience is good. Yes, I like it.
Jada, you're from Covington. So, what did you think?
For me, it was kind of like a culture shock, and I wasn't expecting it to be because I was like, I'm still in the state. I just went 2 hours down. But like when I got here, everything was different. I definitely feel like there's more of a sense of community here because where I'm from, we don't even have sidewalks. So just seeing people like always walking, biking, definitely, skateboarding, just seeing like the community.
There's scooters everywhere
Yeah,
now.
scooters everywhere, the bustling activity. And I mean, this isn't Atlanta, but like coming from Covington, I know like speaking from like native, like Columbus people, they'll be like, there's nothing to do here. And I'm like, there's way more to do here than back in Covington. So it was just like, I definitely saw a sense of community and just activity and just vibrancy that I didn't see where I was from.
And that's interesting. That's really interesting. And the three of y'all also point to the transformation of Columbus State University. 25, 30 years ago, you were the traditional CSU kid. Shaw High School, CSU, maybe working adult, CSU. You were the traditional Cody Road High kid. Not so much out of Metro Atlanta then. Maybe athletes came in out of the metro area, but not so much general students. And then music school, communications, all that started to change that. But now, CSU, and I think these demographics, we had Dr. Markwood in here last week, I think these demographics are right. CSU has the highest African-American enrollment of any college in the University of Georgia system that is not a historically black college or state. CSU has an incredible amount of the population out of the metro area. Does it feel like a college to you? And does it feel like a college to you, or does it feel like the 13th grade?
It feels like college to me. Even when I first left high school and I went straight into CSU, it felt like college to me. I didn't feel like I was going to the 13th grade. I mean, I did see people, of course, I went to high school with,
Yeah.
but I didn't feel like that. I felt like I was going to college.
And for y'all, I mean, Covington, what's the closest school to Covington? Kennesaw?
I'll say Kennesaw or
Perimeter?
yeah, Perimeter. I went to Perimeter for dual enrollment. So
Okay, so you did dual enrollment at Perimeter. Closest one for you in the university system? Conyers would be
or Clayton State.
Clayton State. Clayton State would be.
I would say Gwinnett. Well, it's a route that gets to Gwinnett College. It's like 20 minutes from it. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So y'all have seen other there's what, 34 schools in the system? Is that right? Give or take? Okay. Fact checking with Dr. Gibson here. Y'all seen the university system schools. Are you glad you chose Columbus State University, and why? Start, Ryan.
I say yes. Like you said before, is the most African American. A lot of African Americans attend the school, and I like it because Columbus State is diversity. It has a lot. It's not just a PWI. It has Asian. It has Black. It has everyone that's there, and that's something I did not expect because it's Columbus. And so when I first thought, I was like, well, it's theater kids. I only seen one section of it. I'd never seen Uptown till I came to Columbus State my freshman year. And so with that being said, I'm kind of proud because it's, again, a lot of African Americans come to the school. It's not a historical Black college. So I think that's like even plus for me that, I went to school and I got the same experience while going to HBCU.
That is a fascinating. Isn't that's interesting? That's very interesting. I hope Dr. Markwood, Mike Tellier, and some of those guys listen to this because I think there's some things we learned. What about you? Glad you picked it?
I'm glad I picked it, but I'm going to be honest. In the beginning, it was kind of off-putting because I did start college in the middle of a pandemic. So when I came here, everything was like war zone, masks everywhere. There's only like 5 people in most of my classes, stuff like that. So after seeing the world open up a little bit more, I started to be able to truly appreciate and experience Columbus State for what it was, because I didn't originally get that. So I am glad that I came here, and I also feel like I am getting everything that I want out of college from here.
You know, in some ways, and are you glad you're?
Of course.
Okay, I need short answer. But in some ways, your generation, y'all been cheated. COVID has cheated you. Is that fair? I mean, that's me looking at it. I mean, I would feel like I've been cheated if I was finishing college or doing college in a pandemic.
I do personally feel that, like to the core, kind of.
Do you feel like you've been cheated?
Yes, but no. Simply, I say no because the things I was doing before COVID, I was still doing after. I was still going to the library. I was doing in my room studying, doing that. Of course, activity-wise, it did kind of took a pull back, but it was still happening. It was just less expanded.
I would say yes and no as well, because most of the things that, like Ryan is saying, that we were doing, we were able to start doing now. I would like some more normalcy, or for things to kind of go back to how it was before COVID. Maybe we can do some more things. But like I said, we still have a lot of things around campus that we're doing. I get engagement emails and things all the time. So I can't say, I think it's getting back. Maybe when COVID first began, yes, but I think it's getting back to, how it used to be prior to COVID. Yeah.
I'm going to ask y'all a very unfair question. I get to ask unfair questions. It's the best part of my job. Unfair question. Okay, 2022, calendar flips in a couple of weeks. What do you see yourself doing in 2032? What do you see yourself doing 10 years down the road?
Hopefully I can be doing what you're doing. That's what I'm hoping. Maybe here or, somewhere else, but I'm hoping that I'm well into my career by that time, and enjoying journalism.
What about you, Jada?
I hope that, once again, I am in my career. I'm happy with my career. But I also hope that it takes me in a different direction. I kind of want to be like the foreign correspondent kind of things. I don't want to be in America. I want to be in a different country journaling.
Awesome.
What about you, Brian?
I plan to take my stories to film and expand African American stories that is not brightly told, and follow the footsteps of Jordan Peele and Issa Rae. So that's what I plan on doing.
And I have no doubt you will figure that out. You've been all three of y'all have been joys, but watching somebody who thinks a little like I thought 40 years ago about storytelling, has a passion for storytelling. It starts with a story, and you figure that out. And I think you're going to be able to ride that train a long, long way. And that's been a cool part of this. We're toward the end, and at the end of my podcast, I do what I call turn the tables. And I'm going to do it real quickly because I won't be out of here in 7-8 minutes. But real quickly, turn the tables. You get to ask me a question. Y'all have been watching me ask the questions. Y'all have actually asked questions to me through this. But I'll start with you, Jada, and we'll just go around the horn.
Can we go the other way?
Okay, we'll start. Okay, that's fair enough. Okay.
One question that I have for you. You've been so transparent, Mr. Chuck. It's like we talked to you.
Exactly.
It's like we've asked you so many things.
Especially along the way.
That's true.
I would say, if you could do anything else other than journalism and what you're doing now, what would you do?
I probably would have gone to law school. I mean,
Okay.
I come from a family of lawyers. You know, I've realized, and y'all have seen it in the courtroom. Sometimes I write stories and I make lawyers a lot of money because they get to represent people and respond to it. So lawyer, that's probably what it is. Short answer.
That's a nice one. It's still storytelling.
It's still
It's
storytelling.
still storytelling.
I would be a trial lawyer. I would be getting to tell my stories to 12 people.
Right.
That's for sure.
Wow, this is a tough one actually. I would say hypothetically,
Hypothetical questions always get you in trouble.
I know, right? I would say hypothetically, if Columbus State was to become an HBCU, will you stay a little bit longer in journalism to cover that duration of time?
I don't think that would happen, but I think what Columbus State has figured out is they have figured out that they're going to have 8,000 or 80, between 8 and 8,500 students on campus. They have figured out, and I go all the way back to, I've been covering Columbus State for a lot of years. They figured out that being one way is not the best way. Being diverse, being a diverse area. And the diversity is not just black and white or Asian or Hispanic. The diversity is music kids sitting next to business kids. The diversity is folks that have no interest at all in the music, but they can go listen to a free concert of these kids. I mean, I've got a trombone player who lives next door to me, a CSU trombone. I'm not trombone, excuse me, tuba player, a CSU tuba student who lives next door to me. I finally went to his concert the other night because I've been listening to it for 3 months. I mean, you know, in that, I think what CSU, Columbus State University, has figured it out. They have figured out how to do who said melting pot? One of y'all said melting pot. They have made a melting pot of a student body. Do you think, I mean, I'll turn the question on you, Brian. Do you think your experience was richer because you weren't at an HBCU? I'm sorry.
I wouldn't know to compare it to, but I would say, like you said, I have met a variety of people here. So I don't think nothing banks that more than just HBCU that's predominantly black, as opposed to
like Savannah State and Albany State are the two that are in the system, in the university system.
right. Yeah, nothing beats diversity. I haven't met, like I said, I've met a variation of characters of people in Columbus State, and that's what professors to teachers, and I mean to professors and students, and just community members as well. It's a lot out there in Columbus
Your
State.
plant services is a very diverse group. I see those guys all the time when I'm at the bureau. Go ahead.
Oh, my question?
Yeah.
So with your many years of journalism, I wonder if there was ever a story that just like wowed you and stuck with you after all these years.
You know, one of the interesting part is y'all got to see that story. Y'all got to see pieces of that. I mean, I covered gender integration of the U.S. Army Ranger School, done some of that. Great stories. I've never, ever in 40 years of journalism, nearly 40, 39, seen anything like a district attorney getting elected on a populist campaign and ending up in prison before his first year was out. I mean, y'all have seen a piece of a story that is literally a once-in-a-lifetime public corruption story. Y'all seen it. Y'all got, the three of y'all have gotten to sit in the courtroom. You've gotten to watch me interview people on that. Y'all have gotten to see a piece of that. So, you know, I mean, one of my stories that I'll talk about when my career's done is Mark Jones. And, you know, and I will talk about how I had these three little mice running behind me everywhere I went, you know, and it's, you know, and, you know, it's fun. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay. Well, we are going to a point where we need to wrap this up, but I want to say, the last thing I want to say before I wrap it up, to Jada Washington, Brian Thompson, and Jasmine Edmond, I want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all for help. I mean, I've gotten more out of this than y'all ever will. I mean, this last 3 months of y'all shadowing has been a great experience for me. I've always sort of thought I was a teacher at heart. You know, I've kind of sort of showed me a little bit of that in a real life way. And I appreciate Dr. Gibson and the CSU Comms Department allowing this to happen. So it's been a great experience. It's all the way around. Couldn't have been better. And I just want to thank y'all for being prompt, for doing what you say you were going to do, and being professional, and being somebody that gives an old guy like me hope for the future. I want to thank all three of y'all. You're the closest. You get the high five. But thanks, guys. Okay, we're at the point now, Dylan, where we need to wrap this up. You've been listening to the Chuck Williams Show. You can hear it on You can watch it on WRBL.com Tuesday nights from 7 to 8. It'll be on 7 to 8 tonight. Tell your parents. They can watch it on WRBL.com. You can also pick it up on Spotify, iHeart, and Apple, where you get normal podcasts. That won't have the video element, but you can get it there. Also, y'all have noticed I am a social media person. Have to be. You can't do this job without it, even if you want to quit social media. You can follow me on Twitter at Chuck Williams, on Facebook at Chuck Williams WRBL, and then on Instagram, Chuck Williams 0999. Well, I want to thank y'all for listening. This has been a little different version of the Chuck Williams Show, but it's been a good one for me. I've never done one that was a final exam before. It's kind of intimidating. Well, 3 CSU kids, future's bright. Come back next week and we'll have another edition of the Chuck Williams Show.